Yes, guys, welcome back to Flat Cap Euro Talk here. And it's going to be a nice, kind of chill Spurs related sort of stream where instead of talking about incomings, instead of talking about all the beautiful players we can bring in to fix Spurs, we're actually going to be fixing Spurs by getting rid of some of these players. And the way I kind of described it, Darius, is finding homes, maybe for our, the Spurs players that we don't really want anymore. But how you doing, my man? Thank you for joining us. We do have Kieran in the background as well from Let's Talk Spurs. Everybody, their channels are tagged in the title, so you can't miss it. We'll be putting the links as well in the chat. But Darius, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, man. I don't know if there's many UK viewers watching in the comments, but if you are, you know how amazing the weather is right now. I mean, I think it was 26 today, and I think it's pushing to 28 tomorrow. So this for us is like incredible. So I literally cannot complain once. I'm happy. I'm seeing links constantly being made still in the media. So yeah, I'm buzzing. I'm absolutely buzzing. How about you?
I mean, I'm doing pretty well at this moment. I actually just got that notification from Fabrizio Romano that Kevin Prince Boateng just extended the contract with Hertha Berlin. So we're going to have good vibes over there when we get relegated next season. I'm looking forward to that, honestly. Good to have Kevin Prince around alongside Jovetic. Just bring in all the iconic players of my childhood and just let them rot away at that horrible club, which honestly, I'm very at this stage, just too stressed to support at some stages. But Kieran, I think we're going to bring in. He was, testing out this fancy new camera of his, which is looking absolutely gorgeous, I'm assuming. But Kieran, everything all right? Can I bring you in? Sorry, too premature. How we doing?
No, it's good as the camera I had before, and I'm just now trying to set it up for the first time for streaming, and just kept having a notification. It was just popping up right across the whole screen, just saying like, "Hey, this is going to turn off." So it's like, crap. How do I fix that? How do I fix that? It's not great if I'm just in the middle of the stream and my camera's just going to turn off. So we'll see in 10 minutes. We'll see in 10 minutes if it works. Is pretty much the verdict.
It's looking very, very crisp. Very, very crisp, I might say. So
I need a few settings tweaked, and then hopefully be pretty good. But it's an upgrade on the webcam.
Usually, just kind of like a debut, you just got to get things right, kind of, test things here and there, and you'll eventually get it going. Let's just welcome a bit of the Flat Cap Army in here. We have 29 already in the house. Really do appreciate support, everybody. Do hit that like button. Damiano saying, hello, Jack. Paratici manages to get rid of all this Deadwood players. I will be very impressed. Hopefully the added funds go towards a statement signing. Exactly. Anything helps Damianos, but he has been quite ruthless so far, I would say, with some of the outgoings. In fact, too ruthless, maybe even some would say, especially in January. I mean, the guy was absolutely relentless. Philip saying, good evening, Jack. Check out this quote from Mr. Joao Felix in 2019. Me to Spurs. Now that's impossible, but I don't know. Maybe one day. Perhaps, a bit of a praise for the almighty Tottenham Hotspur coming from Joao Felix. I must say, as impossible as it sounds, as much as I don't think that's ever going to happen, I certainly would take Joao. Absolutely love that kid. Wemberley saying, good evening, Jack. Believing that we need two quality players for every position with few utility players filling multiple spots. There's still work to be done. Winks and Lascelles going. But Tanguy, I mean, we're going to try to find a home for Tanguy today, Wembley. It's going to be a tough task, and I'm going to need your help, my man. Mick Hermelach as well in the house. Good to see you. Ian Ferguson saying, afternoon and evening all. Looks like Stevie B deal is nearly done. Just start sorting out the final details. 25 million euros. 21.5 million pounds. Well, might as well cheat just a bit here. Maybe just get the panel in. I put it at 20 to 25 million pounds was the price tag. I know that's being, generous where, I'm going to get it in the ballpark no matter what. But I don't know, guys. Does that seem like an okay price for Steven Bergwijn, Kieran? I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, are you all right with Steven Bergwijn going away for that much?
I feel like it's in relation to the prices of all these other players, like Richarlison, 75 million, Rafinha, 65 million pounds. I feel like I'm being cheated a little bit, even though it's not my money. I feel like I'm being cheated a little bit. But at the same time, I obviously understand why he's going so cheap. Obviously, what we paid for him, he's not really playing. It's a shame he didn't kind of get more game time, I feel, especially in some matches. Especially after the Leicester game where he got the 2 goals, didn't start the next game. It's like, okay, is he actually ever going to get a chance in the starting 11? And yeah, I feel like that's why he's going so cheap. But I do think it's a good deal for Ajax.
For you, it's cheap. I mean, for you, Darius, do you feel like it's a steal, for Ajax to, get him for, 21.5 million pounds, 25 million euros? I feel like maybe considering the talent of the player, perhaps, maybe a bit of a steal, but I don't know. Like, I'm kind of fine with that price as a Spurs fan. I feel like, you're getting most of your money back for the most part on what I guess you originally paid for him. And at the end of the day, he's not going to really, get the minutes that we know that he probably wants. So 25 million euros, I'd take it.
Well, actually, this is
Yeah.
I was sorry to interrupt. I was
No,
just
go.
I was I just had to quickly search because I was just trying to see how much. The reason I was saying I felt like it was cheap is because Sebastian Haller is being sold from Ajax for 35 million euros, and we're selling them Bergwijn for 25, who's younger. And
Yeah, but do you think
realistically, I feel will have
Bergwijn
a
scoring
bigger
7
impact
goals
for
in the
them.
Champions League, like
Yeah.
Sebastian Aller did? I don't know. I mean, I think Bergwijn and Aller could be comparable. I'd probably take Aller sooner than I would take probably Bergwijn. So
Oh, obviously Haller didn't have a great time at West Ham when he was in the Premier League. It's only when he went back to Ajax that he started to kind of kick his career back up.
I'm looking forward to the Bundesliga return for Sebastian Aller. I must be honest. We'll see. And the Dortmund
I think we
business
mentioned
is
about
crazy.
the Dortmund business, didn't we, Jack? I think we spoke about it. I mean, I was looking at it. I didn't even
We're
realize
gonna
it's that Jaden Braff as well, who's gone there. So Adeyemi, Braff, and Haller to replace
Believe me,
the goal
lads,
output from Haaland.
we're gonna have a whole conversation about it at some
That's
stage.
that's a serious window.
We're not gonna miss that. We can't not talk about that at some stage. We're just gonna let them, do a bit more cooking over there. They have their own strategy, doing a bit of the cooking there, clearly fixing all the mistakes that they made in the past. Clement in the house saying every player who's not in Conte's plans has to leave. Completely agree, Clement. Zoe in the house saying good evening, flat cappers. Jack Statsman Kanicki with another epic stream and coming. Zoe, always appreciate your support. Absolute legend. Chris, as much as you think, I am going to be a Winky fan today, I'm going to have to put on, kind of my Winky hate cap, and it's going to be quite familiar to me because I know, Chris, you like to accuse me of being a Winky lover, but not today. We're going to be ruthless to the guy. He says, good evening, Jack, a.k.a. Wink's biggest fan. Big up, Chris. Good to see you, my man. Terry Wright in the house as well. Good to see you. We also have Mark, Anya Bike, Scott. Always good to see you, Scott. And then as well, Simon Cohen. Do really appreciate you tuning in, Simon. Do really appreciate all the comments in the chat as well. Ask Sid is in the house as well. Good to see you, Sid. Representing Paxton Road. Hopefully everybody from Paxton Road can take a chance to, maybe just plug the channel a bit because I do steal Darius quite a lot, everybody. So we will be putting, a few plugs of the Paxton Road channel out there for you. For those who haven't caught it, especially what I'd be watching in my spare time as well. I was just on there yesterday. Golden Cockerel saying, evening peeps, enjoying last of Sun and Cider. Much to join in the chat. I hope all of you wonderful people, both on and off the panel, are happy and well. Big up, Golden Cockerel, spreading the good vibes. Appreciate that, my man. Matt C as well. Plenty in the house. Mark Swift is here as well. Good to see you, Mark. Just making sure I'm not missing anybody. Wayne Bonner, good to see you, Wayno. We also have Philip. Thank you very much. Philip saying, hi, everyone. Checked out the video on the 23-year-old midfield maestro Lincoln Henrique from Santa Clara. No idea, my man. I have no idea, Philip. I guess watch this space. Bader THFC, good to see you as well. And then Martin Walton, of course, the absolute GOAT of the Flat Cap Army. Martin, good to see you, my man. But everybody, while you're in here, about 48 in the house, do smash that like button. Do as well at any stage. If you feel like you want to stop us, maybe get us talking about something else or even talking about these outgoings, feel free to throw your comments in. I'll try to bring them up on screen as much as possible. If you really want to stop us, feel free to throw in a super chat. We do also have Kieran and Darius's channels in the title, and as well, I will be putting them in the chat so that you can just click that link. It won't even take you away from the video, so you can hit that big red button over on their channel. But everybody, let's just get this started. Let's just get it going. We were just talking about Bergwijn. I feel like, not really, much else to talk about other than him really going to Ajax and maybe talking about the price. So we start maybe something interesting. Tanganga. So he is returning from injury. I feel like he might not actually be leaving, but that's why I want to throw these players in here because it is just kind of fun to talk about whether maybe there were to be, kind of some inclination that he were to leave, what sort of club would be in for the guy. Are Spurs even thinking about leaving him or kind of parting ways with him because he didn't really have the best sort of spell at one stage under Antonio Conte. I think he did great under Jose and did decent under Nuno, but there were a few games in a row where I thought Jaffet really kind of was disappointing us. So Is there a possibility, Darius, that you could see maybe Spurs listening to offers for the guy?
I can, but I think the only the only option they're probably going to take is a loan. Is a loan option. I'll be honest with you. If you're gonna get £25 million for
And
Tanganga,
talk about my price tag. Yeah, I mean,
I'd
is that
bite I'd
ridiculous?
bite your hand off. I'd bite both your hands off, mate, with that price.
Even for
I'll
15?
15 even I think is good enough for me. I just think
Yeah.
that Tanganga is I don't really see the level that he's gonna get to or the heights that people think he's gonna get to. I don't really see that in him. I don't think I think he's a good defender, but there are many other good defenders in the league, and especially in the Conte system. If you're going to not play through the middle, you're going to have some sort of ball playing technical ability about you, and he just doesn't really have any. And I do believe if he wasn't an academy boy, straight from the Tottenham academy, I don't think he would be given this much time and patience by the fans and the board and management. So I think if it was anybody else, we'd probably look to loan and sell him. So I think it would be a good option. I think even if you do loan him to a Forest, I think Forest is probably the best option, or Bournemouth out of the two. Even if you do loan him and he has a good season, if he has a great season, similar to sort of like Skip, when you bring him back, you try and incorporate him into the team. But again, it's going to be difficult when we're looking at buying two centre backs this summer, along with Sanchez and Rodon still in the team, yet to be, decisions to be made. I just don't see how he's going to get game time, and he's not good enough to be one of those players to push himself to be a starting player. He's going to be sort of fifth, sixth in that ranking. So to get some more experience, to go out on loan,
He needs
to put
the
an
loan,
option
you
to
feel,
buy
for
in,
his
he just
career.
needs it. He needs it, and then also if we kind of cover our backs, if he has a stellar season, at least if we have an option to buy, those teams will be more convinced, or they'll feel a little bit more obliged to pay that loan fee or that option fee. If he does, obviously do that well, then we can bring him back as well. So I just think a loan is the best thing to do. You keep his value up, you give him the experience he needs for his career, and if he does turn out to become, somebody that we can rely on, then we bring him in. If not, then if the loan goes well, he can be sold for a good price, maybe more than what you expect.
Kieran, do you feel the same way? Like he needs a loan, like as much as maybe he's not going to be sold, he needs a loan, like for his career at the sick.
Yeah, look, I feel with Tanganga, he has all the physical properties that could make him very successful, especially as even just a backup to Romero in the right centre back position. But like Darius said, we haven't really seen enough of his ball playing ability. Like if you actually think of it, we've seen very, very limited of Tanganga, apart from City and Liverpool, where we were on the back foot for most of the game. So we've only ever seen him, like his defensive capabilities and his aggressiveness at the back and his tackling ability. We haven't actually seen him really when we have the ball and we're the one in possession, we're playing it around. We haven't seen that much of him. I would actually love a loan to Forest. Obviously, Steve Cooper at Nottingham Forest worked in the England setup. So I think that would probably be, obviously Tanganga being English, I think that'd be potentially a great loan for him. Obviously, a manager who's done very, very well at Forest as well. I think he could probably bring on. Tanganga quite a bit. Forest were near the bottom of the Championship when he took over, and they're now in the Premier League by the end of the season. So, a lot of the players that are at Nottingham Forest have obviously praised him and how he's coached them and gave him the winner mentality. And they've put all of kind of essentially the reason why they've got into the Premier League is because of him and what he's installed in those players. So, if all the other players have got good words to say, I'd really like if Tanganga did go on loan to go to Forest, and I think he'd probably get minutes there. So I think that's ideally the best place. I do like the idea of a potential sell option, but it's also bitten us a little bit in the past. Where we put that in contracts and then players go and we kind of go, oh, we probably could have got a bit more for them in the end. So part of me feels
is
maybe
it just the actual like this fixed fee that you've got the issue with, not necessarily actually potentially selling him on if he does well? Because I actually agree with you. I think maybe not putting an actual fee in there, but still considering if he does really well to sell him. I do agree with you on that one.
Yeah, loan option with buy, and let's say it goes super well, with whatever club he goes to. Maybe you throw like something like that 15 million that Darius, what potentially, snap your hand off for. And then, Darius would have to really consider, would he let Tanganga go after a really good season, maybe somewhere? And that's what I think is probably the best for all parties is Spurs get a decent profit, maybe from, selling him on for something like 15, 16 million. You get a good price, but also like it's just maybe incentivizes perhaps if Tanganga does want to leave for him to have a really good season, out on loan with whatever club that may be. But I do see it probably being a Premier League club. It'd be strange for him to go to a championship club. I feel like he'd go to like the Serie A, or he'd go to maybe another kind of, lower level Premier League side. Tottenham Gold just with the super sticker saying, how's it going? It's going very good, Dermot. Let me know what you think of this Tanganga situation. I feel like he could be staying, but the more I kind of think about loan, the more I think about we could probably see that actually happening, and do see him probably not being in Antonio Conte's plans. If we were to make kind of a final decision on this, guys, like, is he just going to be sticking around, like kind of just barely playing, or do you guys do see him going out on loan this coming season? Darius, final conclusion?
I think I think Kieran's really convinced me there. I think it'll probably just be a straight loan, sort of similar to what we've seen with Lukaku going back to Inter. I think it would just be a straight loan. See how he does. Basically, it's a loan in my opinion. I'm not really sure on the contract length. I'm not really aware on. I think he did sign recently, or he was in negotiations, but I think it's just a loan to keep his value up because, like you said, if he does do well, then you can either make a good profit on him or you can try and incorporate him back into the team. So yeah, straight loan for me. I really like the point that Kieran made about like not including an option.
Kieran, have you made that final decision? Loan is what you probably see happening. That's what Paratici might do.
Well, if he has a really good preseason under us and he's actually in the squad by the time preseason comes, and he obviously has a good preseason, I think he'll end up staying because I think Conte will probably keep him for that bit of depth. But if he's not really featured at all in preseason, then I'd say it'd probably be a loan. I wouldn't say we'd sell him just because he's only just come back from an injury. But just further back up that point, actually, when you look at Livramento, Gahey, and Tomori that all left Chelsea last summer for 20-25 and Livramento for 5 million, and then they've all gone away. And then
you know what? People thought that was crazy as well. People thought Mark Guehi, who's not had any Premier League experience, going for that much money is crazy. But
I
actually it seems like it's good business. I thought it was wild.
I mean, 20 million for Mark Guehi. Like his value's already more than that after last season. Literally they've just lost so much money.
I'll take a look at it. N17. I'll take a look at it.
Wow.
There we are.
I hope we have bid for Rafinha. If that is true, I mean, bloody hell.
That'd be absolutely wild. But I will take a look at it.
I think Fabrizio Romano only said that we've
preparing a bid. I think that's what it was.
Basically we've inquired to Leeds. So I think that's just asking how much.
I think we basically said. I think we asked them that if it's okay that we bid. Basically, I think we asked them to bid. That's how I read the translation of it. I could be wrong though. Really do appreciate everybody tuning in though. Big up, Dave. Good to see you in the house as well. SOF always. Rufus Roughcut, Josh Smith. But I mean, I'll check up on this, but I feel like it's a new update. It's a new update. Says on 17. I'll check in on it. Hold on,
it's
everybody.
exciting.
Hold on, everybody. Just gonna look at it on the phone just from Fabrizio, because I do have Fabrizio in the DMs, of course. Everybody kidding. Seeing something about Nuno Tavares, Kevin Prince Boateng. Leeds United have been pretty clear with all clubs interested in Rafinha. He can leave, but they want 65 million euros. Arsenal after first bid rejected. Spurs after new direct talks. So Spurs are in direct talks. So from what I've seen from at least an hour ago, is that Spurs are more or less preparing a bid to go after Rafinha by the looks of it. That's how I'm understanding it, everybody. And I think that hasn't changed since last time. But in other news, Kevin Prince Boateng extending that contract here, everybody. That's great news for Flat Cap Euro Talk. But another one that could be an interesting kind of departure here, everybody. Reguilon. This one I think is also kind of fun because I feel like he's on the way out the door. As much as I kind of was a big of a Reggie fan, I had a soft spot for the guy. I think he worked extremely hard for us, seemed to have a good personality, but it looks like he's out the door. Something went wrong between him and Antonio Conte by the looks of it. Real Madrid, they have that 40 million euro release clause or kind of buyback clause, I think, available this summer. This is the last time they can use it. Sevilla, maybe he makes that big return to Lopetegui. That was kind of on my mind when thinking about his destinations this morning. That could be an interesting one. Also because Sevilla do have Champions League money. And I know, kind of Spanish sides, they don't have as much money as others, but they do have Champions League money. Perhaps they throw in a bid and maybe they do accept it. He gets to rejoin with Lopetegui, someone who did kind of make his career to an extent. And then Juventus, that's kind of just where the links have been kind of connecting him so far. Apparently, Juventus are maybe interested in Reguilon. Kieran, if you were to make a prediction here, Reguilon, what would be his destination? Where's Reguilon's new home going to be?
Oh, God, I thought you were going to say, will we loan him or sell him? His new home, I'm not sure. Like, the strongest rumour link that I've seen is Barcelona, but he's a former Madrid, player. So, I don't know. For some reason, I can't see him joining Barca, even though that's the most likely or the most heavily rumoured. So, I don't know. From those three clubs, I'd probably say Madrid just because they have the option in there to buy him back. And I think now's like the last season where we're supposed to pay his fee, from what I heard, that we're actually only supposed to be paying his fee now this upcoming summer. So I'd say maybe there's like a deal where we just pretty much cancel out that fee and just give him back to them, or pay like a small fee as if it was a loan and he's out the door. That potentially might be what happens, just get him off the wage bill. I'm not sure. But yeah, like I said, Barca was the most heavily rumoured. I just can't see that happening.
Interesting. Darius, what's the home for Reguilon? Is it Juventus? Is it something kind of it makes sense, but it's a bit...
It does make sense. It does. I think that's actually one that does make more sense than people make it out to be. However, I've seen Juve linked with Kostic quite heavily, so I do feel like they would rather go for that one. I think it's Spain. I do think it would be Spain if he's going to go anywhere. I'll be real with you. I think, again, Kieran mentions Barcelona, which I have seen. I think any of the top four top big Spanish clubs, I think, could feasibly get Reguilon in. I do think Atletico Madrid would actually do quite well with Reguilon. I think he would suit a system a bit like Atleti. He's now got a bit of a gas tank, obviously trading under Conte for a year. I think he would actually do quite well under Simeone. Real Madrid, again, obviously, it's a team that he's been at. You actually look at Reguilon's numbers. I know, obviously, we are constantly watching him and we can sort of see all of his performances. But if you were to sort of just look at Reguilon's numbers, especially on sort of like on FB reference stuff, you think he was one of the better left backs in the top 5 leagues. So
especially
I think
in that Sevilla season that he had a while back, he was absolutely sensational.
So I definitely think there's room for him to sort of get back into a big team, and one of the big 4 Spanish clubs. I think it'd be very easy to convince him to spend 25 million. And also, I also think he's sort of he's that sort of player that you would include in swap deals and trades plus cash. He's that ideal player that you could sort of bring into negotiations with as well. So I think he might be a little bit of a pawn piece to some deals potentially being done, but if not, I honestly think any one of those big 4 Spanish clubs he could find a move to, definitely.
Do you guys see it happening more as like a swap deal of some sort with maybe a player from Juventus that we go after again? Who knows? Maybe we get McKennie, and Pratici really likes McKennie. Who knows? He could use that as kind of like a pawn, like you said, in a chess deal for that sort of player. But I mean, Reguilon, like, as much as I feel like we're trying to get rid of him, you can get like pretty good coin, from that transfer. Like I said, everybody, I think the 40 million buyback clause, is still available to Real Madrid. That would be plenty. 40 million euros for Reguilon. I think we would take that any day right now. But even 25 million euros could go, or 25 million pounds could go a very long way, with how, helping, maybe do, another transfer of some sort for those fullback positions. So what I do kind of find interesting about the Reguilon one is this is one of the more important, I think, outgoings, because we could actually get some decent deals out of this one, either swap deals with other clubs or just getting just straight up 30 million euros, 35 million euros for the guy. I don't really know if we're going to really get as much as 40 million euros, but I do see us probably selling for around 30 million euros if like there really is no swap deal involved. What would you kind of put the price on it, Kieran? What would be like Reguilon's price maybe for Spurs?
I thought the amount that obviously we got him for was £30 million, was it?
Yeah.
Or was it 25
20,
million pounds,
27, 27 million pounds, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
And I think
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
and
try
we've
to
had him.
recollect that for you. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had him how many seasons now? It's like 2 or 3 seasons.
Two or three now,
Same
definitely.
amount that Hoiberg's been actually. He's been here as long
Is
as
it? Yeah,
Hoiberg's been.
that same
Yeah.
season, yeah.
So season,
Yeah.
2 seasons.
I honestly feel that I would take 25 million for him. I know that might sound cheap to a lot of people, but the big question around Paratici, especially from his time at Juve, was that he struggled to get players out the door. And I think if we got that, I'd rather sell him on because we already have 2 left backs. And obviously then, I'd rather sell him on and get 25 million that we can then invest in this summer
100%.
into other players rather than not take 25 million and sit on the bench, sit there for another year. And then next season we have to take 25 million because he hasn't played. At the worst, a loan with an option to buy for that amount or more. But if preferable, I'd sell him because I don't think Conte. I don't know what it is because the thing is, Reguilon was getting in positions. Like
He just had no end product, did he?
Yeah, we're constantly seeing him in positions where he can score. And then he wasn't. I think maybe it's just a thing where Conte's just got a bit frustrating. He's like, you're not cutting it. Like you're getting into positions, but you're just not finishing. You're wasting chances. We're going to get punished for it soon enough if you keep doing it. So I feel like maybe Conte's giving him the cold shoulder, but I suppose for that reason I would just sell. So yeah.
Even a like for like though, like you said, Kieran, £25 million. I mean, I know it didn't happen, but we were linked with Philip Kostic for what was it, 16 million euros almost. So it's like the trading. If you are going to do a like for like swap in the market, could probably, like you say, make additional profit and still get a replacement in, because I do feel like with left wing back, it's easier to find a bargain for left wing back than it is for, like you say, a striker or a right winger who we seem to be linked with. I think if you're going to go and get a right winger, a forward player, a creative midfielder, you want to sort of put the big money in to get a high quality player. But especially with left wing back, maybe right wing back is a little bit harder. I do think we should just break the bank for Hakimi if we're going to do something like that. But left wing back, you could definitely find sort of a few little bargains or a few deals where the player profile matches, so you don't really have to necessarily worry about the fee, and that's what we should go for. So I think with left back, I think if you can sell Reguilon for £25 million and you're already looking at targets who are better than Reguilon for half the price, then it seems like a no-brainer to me to just sell him and like you say, just sort of forget that we even ever bought him. It's sort of like if we sell him for 25, then we can just pretend like it was a 2-year loan and
it's the
move on.
same thing with Emerson, actually, to an extent. You just sort of like, it's almost like a contract, invoice, sort of fullback where they just come in for 22 million. You sell them for 22 million 2 seasons later. It's like, just send me
Effectively
the
a
invoice.
loan.
And effectively a loan, right? A smarter loan. But in the case of Reguilon, or maybe a more complicated one, I feel like I could see actually him making a return to La Liga. Sevilla, I think, is probably the dream move for him if they would throw up the cash, because like I said, Lopetegui, or when kind of his best numbers really were, it's the player that we sort of kind of were inspired to get in the first place, that Europa League winning fullback. So if anything, I could see him pushing for a move for Sevilla, like him personally. I just don't know if whether Sevilla want him or whether they actually have the cash to be able to bring him back. Like I said, Champions League football is available to them. They have a bit more money than maybe they're used to, so they could actually spend a bit on bringing back Reguilon. I think they have an Argentinian kind of fullback there that I'm not sure how good he is, but I could see them actually going back for someone like a Reguilon. It could make sense. It's where his best days were. But yeah, I would say 25 to 30 million euros is probably what I imagine the price to be for the Spanish fullback. Sanchez, someone that, some people don't think is even going to be sold, and someone that I kind of even said yesterday, weirdly, Conte has kind of taken a liking to towards the end of the season, even has gone as far as to call him Patron in certain videos. So I don't know, Sanchez, perhaps he's actually not leaving, guys. I think maybe we start off with that conversation.
He better not be leaving. If it's for those prices, Jack. If it's for those prices, he better not be leaving. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, you think he's worth more than that? You think he's worth more than that?
I'll be honest. I'm sorry. I know, Kieran, you're probably going to jump in, but I'm sorry. If it isn't 40 million, just keep him and make him a squad player, because I honestly think he would be the one if we were to sell. That I know we wouldn't probably have massive regrets, but I could see Sanchez doing well in a different team, and I think 23 to 30 million for a guy who's still pretty young for a centre back who has the qualities. I think you could probably. I think Sanchez is worth 35, pushing 40 mil. I'll be real with you. I think we should try and look to make our money back. Otherwise, I think it's a perfectly fine sort of squad player to have. As we saw him sort of come in and replace Romero. So yeah, if we're not getting really, really good money for Sanchez, I don't really see the point in making a sale, to be fair.
I actually don't think we should sell him either.
Can you imagine how crazy this is? Like we're actually talking about keeping Sanchez now.
Last
I just
season,
don't. I don't see us selling him. I actually kind of want to sell him because I said this yesterday on Paxton Road. If you get 25 million to 30 million euros for Sanchez, I think you can easily get a better center back for the same price, in return. But you're adding on, extra tasks, extra duties, to Paratici's long list of things to do. So maybe that might make things a bit complicated. But I don't know about you guys. Like, I feel like you could get a better center back than Sanchez for 25 to 30 million euros.
Do you know what I think? I think can you for that price maybe, but we're already looking to get a left centre back, a centre back, and then selling another player. Then you have to get another, 3 centre backs in this window. I think you're probably trying to force too much in that back line, especially when you consider we got a left wing back, we're getting a right wing back, we're trying to sign two centre backs already. Then adding another one, you're changing like 5 players to your back line. I know a lot of those are, players are like second choice in some areas. But I feel like Conte, Conte, I can't even remember when it started, but for a long time now, even though Sanchez's been on the bench, the last 10 minutes of games, you'll see Conte bring on Sanchez, or if players have been injured, he's put Sanchez over Rodon. So I feel like he has a trust in him. Sanchez is like Tanganga; he has all the physical abilities, and the physical attributes to be a good centre back. But sometimes he just you see him, he has those moments where he just looks like he's not even like watching the game that's happening in front of him. It's just like, oh shit, and just kind of like clicks that something's happening around him. I think that's always.
I feel like they're like the opposite of Thiago Silva. These center backs, where Thiago Silva. I mean, I know at one stage he sort of was kind of a physical specimen, but even to this day, he's never really needed it. He just uses sort of his timing, his awareness, his composure. And I feel like that's what Sanchez and even to a degree Tanganga kind of lack, is just that sort of Thiago Silva kind of calmness inside them. As sort of defenders, it just needs to be like these big, at moments of kind of panic in order for them to defend well. It looks like it's always a struggle. It never looks easy, sort of players. And I don't know. That's where it kind of worries me with Sanchez. And that's why even when you ask Sanchez to step up, the big worry is that even I think Darius said this the other day, he needs someone else to, help him play well. And when maybe you have, I don't know, 2 other center backs that, let's say we have Tanganga, Sanchez, and Davies, which one is going to help the other play well? I don't know. It's one of those situations.
I think it makes sense just to keep him. I think you're not going to really get Premier League quality centre. Well, he's not. Would you call him Premier League quality? I don't know, but he's had the experience. So, yeah.
Sanchez, Sanchez apologist. Who knew? Sanchez apologist. Sanchez fans in the chat. Who knew? Everybody. I guess I'm being quite harsh as well. But in an ideal world, it's just one of those players that I just would like to sell.
I think, if you feel like we should sell him, it's one of those cases of, can we get a better player than him? Yes. And he's also one of the players that's been at the club quite a long time, who's not in the starting 11. But for me, I just feel like the amount of signings we're already trying to make, we're trying to make around the same, if not potentially more, it's in and around the same amount of signings that we made when Bale left. And then we all had so many signings and it didn't gel. I think at some point you can kind of say, okay, these players do need to go. Maybe next season sell Sanchez and get an upgrade on him then. But I feel like if we're shifting so many players, especially in the back line, I try and keep some players here and there so that there is some sort of, I don't know, like cohesiveness and understanding of how other players play. That if Romero gets injured, potentially Sanchez can just step in that spot, or something like that.
No, I completely agree with that. I don't even know if I can argue with that, to be fair. And because it seems a bit absurd to make 3 or 4 changes in the back line in one summer, as much as I would like to, as much as, I just want to get it all done right away, kind of lickety split, it does sort of make sense. I'm not really sure. Maybe we go for a slightly easier one here. Lo Celso, I mean, we know he's going, but the club is kind of more the question because with Villarreal, does Pau Torres even want to come to Spurs? Like that seems to be the question. He seems to hate us. Perhaps it's all the ex-Spurs players in the background, whispering, things into his ear about how horrible we are and whatnot. But I don't know. But I do see him going to La Liga. Perhaps he makes a return to Real Betis, or he goes to the rival club, Sevilla. That could be kind of interesting. But I feel like La Liga is his destination. The price tag is also maybe up for debate because is he going to be more than like the 20 million euros? Maybe he goes for more than that. I feel like that would be a steal, or for us maybe, or that would be awesome if we could sell him for more than 20 million. But I don't know, like Darius, destination, price tag. What are your thoughts on
Ooh,
Lo
these
Celso?
price tags are low, Jack, man. These price tags are
You can tell my
low.
thoughts on each player. Tanganga is worth 25 million in my eyes, and Lo Celso is worth 20.
I'll be honest with you. I actually would have agreed probably with the price tag had he not put in important performances for Emery during that run to the semi-final. I think Emery had a lot of sort of respect for him and a lot of trust in him in that squad. And you know what? He was putting in man of the match performances and he was quite a pivotal part to that team. It seemed like he was a bit of an engine in that midfield. And I'll be honest with you, I've seen a few rumours and links to Atletico Madrid. And when I saw it, I just thought, I actually couldn't think of a better team for Lo Celso to potentially join than Atletico Madrid. I think that him and Simeone would get along quite well. So I'll be honest with you, I could see him again. It's only Spain for me, but I think it's one of two clubs. I think it's back to Villarreal or Atletico Madrid. I think that really is a good place for him to go and be a good player, but also still have that challenge of challenging for titles and feeling like and being in the Champions League and just feeling like you are not making a drop down from Tottenham. So I think Atletico is kind of perfect for him. And if you can, again, crazy rumors I'm seeing that João Felix and swap and trade deals with Lo Celso and Emerson for João Felix, but I don't think it will happen. But again, players like him, you can use in bargaining to lessen fees for other players. So if you're not going to get a decent fee for him, if you want to go and grab somebody out of Atletico, you can use him as a bargaining chip. So I think it's a low price. It's a really low fee. I would say something like 30 million euros, potentially 25, 30 million pounds almost.
Wow.
Because I really do think that he was quite an important part to that Villarreal team, and I think he did increase his value. We paid 42 million pounds for him, so I mean, it's a lot of money to lose still. But I think that he, after that performance or after that season, half season he had at Villarreal, I think he knocked 5-10 million on his price tag, and he's got a lot of years left on his deal as well. I think he's got like 2-3 years left on his deal. So.
Kieran, let's find, am I crazy or is Darius crazy? I think he just quoted 35 million euros, 30 million euros for Lo Celso. Does that sound right about, a fair price for him? Where do you think it lies?
Yes and no to both. I feel like Darius has a point, right? Like realistically, when you consider people were praising him highly in the Champions League, even Jurgen Klopp when Liverpool played them. So you think like people are praising him, he's putting in big performances for them, especially in the Champions League and getting man of matches in the Champions League. You'd think that you can fetch a decent price tag for him. But a lot of clubs are broke or just like stubborn.
That's
like,
why my price tag is also so
yeah.
low, because it's La Liga club. So I just don't see them paying that much. And
yeah. Like, I think
maybe it also is because of my feelings on Lo Celso. It's me, trying to back up, a very biased price tag. But I don't know. I agree. It's the La Liga, financial weight.
Yeah. I mean, if it's Atletico, then you can get more than the price tag obviously on here. But I think if it's Villarreal, then probably 19 million is probably the maximum we're going to get, which is a shame because Darius said, with some of the performances in Champions League, you'd think, could we maybe squeeze some more out of that and get more than that? But yeah, I mean, even if you look at, I think Fiorentina, they're trying to they had a Lucas Torreira from Arsenal on loan, and they wanted to keep him, but they can't even afford 12.5 million or something for him. Like the state of clubs in Europe at the moment, it isn't great. Obviously, we're kind of in a luxury position, I suppose, in the Premier League with the money we have. Other clubs in other leagues, apart from the very, very elite of those leagues, don't have tons of money.
Yeah. No, they have nothing to throw around.
Absolutely. I agree with Darius, but I also don't agree with Darius.
I was going to say, is Lo Celso to you like somebody who is an urgent sale? Like if you were to get, let's say not even 19, let's say 15, they lowballed us at 15 million pounds, and you see other targets that we need, maybe that 15 million pounds can go towards it. Is Lo Celso sort of worth selling for if they do want to lowball us? Is he worth just sort of generating funds for other targets, or do you think you actually could see him put in some sort of role as being a squad player? In I don't know. I don't really see him being a squad player, but if I was to keep any of those centre mids that we are looking to definitely sell out of Winks and Ndombele and Lo Celso, I probably would keep Lo Celso, to be honest with you. I don't really. I just don't. That's what I mean. I think
I even I rate Tanguy. Like at the end of the day, I rate Tanguy so much higher than I rate Gio, because even though Tanguy just doesn't give you any effort, doesn't give you any sort of, I don't know, commitment. At the end of the day, I can tell that he has the ability of a good footballer. With Lo Celso, there's so many times, so many games, so many moments that I've really questioned whether this guy actually genuinely is the class footballer that, people have hyped him up to be. Even when they talk about how great he plays for Argentina, you look at his Argentinian numbers, they're not that great over there either. Like he really is just sort of like a passenger in a very good team. I kind of think, and I just don't know. I think Lo Celso has very much been carried by the reputation of his Argentinian compatriots, and been very much carried by those Batiste numbers. And I don't know how he got those Batiste numbers. To be fair, he did have a sensational season there, but there have been moments, Darius, where I've questioned whether this guy can actually even lift the ball off the ground, like 6 yards or more off the ground.
It's crazy. I think he was played. I don't think he was played in the wrong position, but when you watched him at Batiste, he was living in the opposition box. Like he was basically a centre forward, almost like a second striker. He was living in that box, and he would pick up opportunities to put the ball in the back of the net by just sort of being in and around that space. I think a lot of false I think people made a lot of false impressions on his position when we sort of see at PSG he was position, because if you look at PSG he was a 6 almost, and then you go to Batiste and you're basically playing as a second striker. So I think this is the issue with not tying down a position that you can really master, and it's all good being a utility player and having the ability to work in all positions, but if you're not doing it at an elite level in all those positions, like a Kimmich, like a Bellingham, if you can't do that, like not drop off your level of performance when you change position, then you have to lock down a position. You have to specialize in that position. He's not box to box. He's not a ball playing. He's not a what's it called? A ball playing defensive midfielder. He's not really a number 10. He's just really just like you said, a bit of a passenger who's got a little bit of ability.
He doesn't get enough goals or enough assists in any position that he really plays.
I don't know what role he would play in the team.
Unless it's a number 6 spot, but then he's not good enough defensively there, like you said.
The thing is, he does well in teams where he is one of the best players and other players around him work to give him the ball and let him be the star man. In the Premier League, there isn't any of the top 6 teams where he's really good enough to be that man in the team, and I don't think he's good enough to be that man in our team, and I think that's part of the problem. He doesn't really work when he has to just be a cog who just goes about his business silently. He has to be one of those players that everyone else works and kind of tries providing the ball for him. And I think that's why at times at Argentina he looks good, because you've got like the pool and you've got other players behind him who are just players that do the dirty work, get it, and just play it forward to him, and let him just go forward and do his own thing. And obviously then ahead of him, you've got, Martinez, you've got Messi, you've got all these class players ahead of him then as well. So, I think he's just, to me, I don't think he fits in our squad either. Like, we now have Skip Basuma, Højbjerg, Bentancur, and
God.
then all of our fan base want us to sign an attacking player as well. Like a creative player. When I say attacking,
I think Devine will probably get more minutes than Lo Celso and Ndombele. I think you'd rather give minutes to Alfie Devine than Lo Celso and Ndombele or Winks, honestly.
yeah. I mean, this is a
And
thing.
I would rather
like,
that as well.
we're sitting here talking about Lo Celso. We've also got to get rid of Ndombele. So I think it might even be.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
We'll find that guy home.
Just on Lo Celso, it might even be to a point where we're sitting here going, we are not even able to offload Ndombele because no one will take his wages. Let's just cut Lo Celso out because we're only able to fit one of them in our squad.
To be fair to Lo
one
Celso,
started
you're
shift.
right there. Like, there is a home for Lo Celso somewhere. Someone will take him. I think someone will make a bid for him, whether it be 15 million, and that might be to Darius, like an absolute steal for the other side. I think there is going to be somebody that's going to make a bid for Lo Celso, and it's going to be not very hard for us to probably find a home for Lo Celso.
I think wherever
Whereas,
he
like
goes,
you said with Tanguy, it's a whole different situation.
I think wherever he goes, he will be good value for that team. But for us, I think whatever we get is good value for us. I think it can work both ways. Whatever we get is good value, but whatever, because we just need to get rid of him, we need to cut our losses. But whatever they pay, it's going to be a steal unless they pay, 25 plus, million. Yeah.
And then the destination, do we see it being Villarreal, or do we see it being, perhaps another La Liga side, or who knows, Serie A?
I'm gonna say Atleti. I think he would do. It's Villarreal or Atleti for me. I don't really see any other club that would
that one in there. You're right.
Yeah,
Rodrigo de Paul swap deal, that would be an absolute dream. That would be a dream. Also, because I must say, de Paul, he's sort of a hybrid between a creative midfielder and sort of like a number 8, like Basuma. I would say Basuma's more of like a number 8, whereas like he's a bit more creative midfielder kind of esque, de Paul, but he can also play as a number 8. And so I don't know, like I would love Rodrigo de Paul. That would be absolutely, that would be a much better, that would be the Geo that we meant to buy, actually, to be fair.
I think that'd be a much better swap that works for us. I mean, if we can get that for Atleti, then I'd say sure, but only if we also get rid of Ndombele, or get him out the door in some way. But for me, I think it'll be Villarreal at around £17 million or 17.5 because they never spend that much on players, or it'll be Atletico because they're offering us a higher price.
I'm just going to get to some of the price tags that I did just ask people here. 25 million tops is what Craig says. Maybe people would go for. I honestly think it's going to be a bit lower than that, even, Craig. Unless it's Atletico, like we said, who knows? It's a different story with Atletico. Marlon Green gone for 20. Some are saying 15 to 20 million tops. That's what I'm kind of thinking. SOF. Zoe with the accurate 23 million. That's probably dead on. Maybe Zoe, probably. But everybody, I think the Rodrigo to swap deal is probably just way too obvious for some people. But since we did mention him, let's find a home for Tanguy and Ndombele here, everybody. You can probably laugh at my price tag. I mean, genuinely, maybe negative 5 million to 20 million. Who knows? Might end up, probably paying a club to take him. His contract, just making sure, just need to read this here, up in 2025. So, I mean, if we were to rip up the contract, like some people say, you're paying the 3 years left of his wages. So I think he's making around something like 10 to probably 12 million, I think, probably per year, I would reckon, maybe wage wise. So that would be 30 million that you'd be paying to him if you were to rip up the contract. That might be an interesting option to us available. Could pay 30 million to Tanguy and, rip up the contract. But that's, I think, around the ballpark of what it would cost to just rip up the contract. But destinations are also in mind. He could make a return to Jose Mourinho. Perhaps PSG make a bid for him because he could maybe tear it up over there. And they are doing kind of a French, kind of revolution over there with all of kind of the new ways of Galtier, who I think is heading over there. They're also brought in, I think, why am I forgetting his name now? But the great director of football that they just brought in.
Luis Campos,
thank you. There's a huge kind of revolution going on over there. They're bringing in young talent. I reckon like probably the young kind of French talents that would have been sold by PSG, perhaps are now going to be kept. Who knows? They maybe go after Tanguy and Ndombele, make him one of kind of the players to return to Liga. I don't know. Or Lazio, just because with Lazio, I could actually see Tanguy and Ndombele playing really well in like a Maurizio Sarri kind of team. I could actually see him tearing it up in a Maurizio Sarri team. But I don't know, guys. I mean, take it away. Darius, your thoughts on Tanguy?
I mean, if you got a bag of Haribos and a box of Cheerios for Tanguy, you'd be doing quite well, to be fair, because I actually genuinely have zero idea as to what to do with this player. At this point, my first instinct is to just send him on a year loan somewhere else.
Qatar, Saudi Arabia. He could. That's actually never even thought about that. Never even
just keep doing that. Just keep doing that until that contract runs out, or if you're willing to do it for one more year and then potentially pay his contract out for 2 years. This guy is in the best position he could possibly be in. He can either get paid 250 grand and sit on the bench in the Champions League club, go out on loan for a year, play football, still get paid the same money, or like you say, his contract gets ripped up. I actually genuinely have no idea. He would. I don't think there's any possibility that Luis Campos and Christophe Gaultier would want him in that PSG team. I mean, Vitinha, Renato Sanchez. It already looks like Nasser El Khelaïfi said, if you ain't a part of our new, like he's basically said, too many players have been getting away with stuff at PSG, get away with doing nothing at PSG, and Ndombele basically epitomizes getting away with doing nothing. He's doing it now at Spurs. So I can only see one of these, like a Jose manager giving him one more chance, or like you said, maybe the Middle East. But otherwise, I think it's just going to be loans until that contract runs out. Because
until we can rip it up, like Zoe says, maybe you loan him out for a year, rip it up the following year.
I genuinely have no idea.
Just before you start suggesting rip it up, I'm just going to jump in because I think that what they're doing at PSG now is, I don't know how they've not realised it sooner, but they've been buying players from abroad, from foreign countries, bringing them into Liga where it's not historically one of those big leagues that people get excited about. And they're bringing them in and then expecting those players, just because they're big names, to perform. Whereas I think now they're kind of going, the people who probably care the most about representing PSG are probably French players who recognise that PSG is the best club in France currently, and they want to represent France on the Champions League stage. I think that what we could potentially do, which I think is probably the best way to get rid of him, is like we did with the Dele Alli deal. We are selling him on a free, but there is just bonuses. Okay, when he makes so many
clauses,
when he makes like 20 appearances, it's 5 million. If your team gets champion, I think this is the only way you would get.
That's genius. That's the only way we can do it.
Honestly, PSG, right? Once he makes 20 appearances, 5 million. Make Champions League, which will happen, 10 million, but they won't have to pay it till next year. And then if they win the Champions League, another 10. Now you got 25 million, potentially 15 to 25 million. And if they take
genius.
If they take him and sell him on, we've got his wages off our books, which is the worst case that's going to happen anyway. Because, I mean, if he goes on loan, no club's going to take his wages. We're still going to have to be paying part of his wages. Yeah, we still
pay half his wages at least.
And if you want to rip up his contract, you have to pay the rest of it. Or have some sort of settlement fee where you're paying part of it and then the remainder over the next few years. It's, and then at that point you let him on the free. Why not just sell him for free but put in all those bonuses to a team where you're basically saying, Tanguy, look, we know you don't want to be here. Let's find you a club. We'll let you go on we'll try and get you a deal on the free, and just whatever clubs are there to take him, especially if they're taken on a free, or they don't have to pay anything till next year, and they might not even have to pay anything next year. It might be the season after. I think that's probably the best way you get him out the door.
Crazy. That's insane. That would be the exact way to go from that price tag to then basically the club essentially just offering him for free.
Just really says how.
But really
says how far he's fallen. In those.
It's only his fault though. Like, that's why I'm not angry at this, because it's not like he's made an effort. I don't think he's actually made any effort. And to be honest with you, Kieran, I actually think when I saw that Dele Alli deal, I thought I don't know if it's happened before. I personally haven't seen sort of a deal structure like that be put in place. I thought that was absolutely genius, top level genius from Paratici, because you are almost fooling Everton into buying a player for free and you realize the appearances. If you're bringing somebody off the bench 5, 10 times a game, they may play 100 minutes in those 10 games, but they still played 10 games. So it will add up. It will slowly add up. And like you say, PSG are a guaranteed team to get into that Champions League. If you can get 15 million minimum almost next year for Ndombele, then had you had told PSG the season before we want a 15 million loan fee, you'd have been like, yeah, we'll snap your hand off. So it's just being smart. It's just being sneaky about it. I think that genuinely the only possible way we will be able to make any sort of money on Ndombele is to probably do it that way, because at least if you don't charge the club a fee, they probably wouldn't mind paying. If it's not 250, I think he's on 250 or 200. He might accept
around
he
200.
might accept a small wage. He might accept a small wage cut if that club isn't paying a fee, because they obviously will just put the money in the wage. I think that's the only possible way that could happen, and Ndombele could be sold, because no club in their right mind would go near him. He flopped at Lyon. This is what I find crazy. Like, some fans are like, oh, he's got the talent. He's going to come back into the thing. He's going to be motivated because of the Champions League. But we literally just come back from a Champions League final when we had signed him, and he's the exact same as he was then. So if he isn't doing anything at Lyon, I think it's enough to say that maybe he just isn't. His heart's not in it, or maybe he just has earned that money way too quickly. We just gave him that wage way too quickly. So cut your
Is it
losses.
the worst
sell him
ever
for
signing
free.
in your lifetime, Darius? You know, as a Spurs fan.
Oh, I want to say like the Vincent Janssens and the Fraser Campbells and the stuff like that. But based on the fee, it's a world record fee. Clinton and G. You want to go to those names first, obviously, and kind of just say that. But if you actually look at the fee and the fact that I was completely convinced that this guy was going to sort of revolutionize our midfield, replace Dembele, or as much as he could replace Dembele, it's turned out to be. I mean, if he's going out on loan 2 years into his deal back to the club we sold him for, and we bought him for £55 million,
it is financially the worst.
It has to be what it be. Yeah, financially, it has to be the worst deal, because he's not even contributed to goals. I mean, what is it, like 3 goals and 5 assists or something crazy like that in 2 years? So yeah, I guess I can't. It's one of those where you can't argue. You want to try and think of other players, but it's our record signing was earning more than Harry Kane and Son at one point, I'm pretty sure. So
that's also
it's a madness.
It's one of those ones where you have to look at it as, has he performed better than some of our other bad signings? Yes, of course. Has he done more than those on the pitch? Yes. But when you look at the expectations, the financial, implication that it's put on us, having those wages consistently, like over 200k a week or 200k a week. Wait, it's over 200k a week, because
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Obviously, the club pays for like things like his insurance and other things like that, don't they? So it's over 200k a week that he's getting for what we've received. I was going to say what we've received from him, but I can't actually think of any good moments apart from the goal at Sheffield United. We've basically been paying millions for that one goal. And like Darius said, people saying, remember when he first went back to loan at Lyon and he did one roulette, and there's loads of people
oh my god, please, Kieran, oh my god.
And I was just sitting there thinking, like, he's done like one roulette, but he was invisible for the first 45 minutes of that game. And you look at the rest of the season, I haven't seen any Ndombele compilations because he hasn't done anything.
No.
And
he scored a tap-in against West Ham.
Like I'm salty or I hate the guy. I don't hate him. I'm just so disappointed because of the clear talent that he has.
Yeah, we know what he's capable of.
Effort,
We know what he's capable of with a football at his feet. I think that's what's kind of the craziest thing.
He was lucky. I think he's just very lucky that he's very good at football, Kieran. I think that's the only reason why he's had more contributions than the worst signings, because when you are that gifted at football, and I've always had that. Well. Yeah, you've always had that. I've always had that debate. Like, can somebody truly be like gifted with the talent of football? Can somebody just be born with the talent of football? I do believe there are people in the world who have got better talent naturally at football. I think he's one of those people who is really good at football but didn't put the effort in. And to be fair with you, I don't really have now Conte's here. I don't have the time and patience to be, let's see if he comes good. Let's see if he comes clean. I couldn't care less. I'd rather just cut losses, like you say, sell him for free, Kieran, and potentially work on building a squad that actually wants to work hard. I'd rather give Alfie Divine minutes than Tongi and Dumbler.
Well, this is the
I
thing as
love
well. It
this.
doesn't have to be a team that has loads of money. If I
No,
was sitting here saying to you now, like, we get him off the books, but we're getting 15 million, you
I'd
know,
snap your hand off.
like I would
Unfortunately,
take
yeah.
that, you know, but I don't think any team is going to pay 15 million and his wages right
Mhm.
now. I just don't have a feeling. That's why I feel like the Dele Alli type deal is probably the best. But
Do you think we'll see more of them?
How much
Like,
do futsal teams pay, Sean? How much do they pay? You know, do they have 1 million, 2 million maybe available? Perhaps. You know, he'd be probably one of the signings of the
he would
season
be
for
a
futsal.
futsal legend, and Dumbler. He would be a
Especially
futsal
with the
legend.
way he can box players out, you know, while doing all the skills that he could do as well. The way he
Yeah,
could
he would
shut
be a
them up.
futsal legend. He should definitely
Martin Walton
reconsider it.
saying it could have been worse, guys. We could have done Chelsea and signed and dump Elliot twice.
I mean, that is the worst transfer in history.
That's the worst transfer in history. That
They
takes over Maguire.
They have literally done a 100 million loan deal for a season.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's
That's what they've
exactly what
done.
it is.
I think the funniest thing is, I know it's a bit off topic with Lukaku, but you can imagine like the guy got to Chelsea thinking, "Yeah, I'm back at my club," and it probably took all of 4 weeks to realize what the hell have I done? Because he was doing Sky Italia interviews in November, wasn't he? So or
Yeah, I
December.
mean, Darius,
It
they
looked
did
like
a
even the
whole
original
thing.
joke was something like, how many times do Chelsea need to buy Lukaku to remind themselves that he was originally theirs, or like something like that. Like, I don't know. It's just like
Well, I
something on
mean,
those lines.
the funny thing is with that transfer, right, is that when he came, the announcement video was like him when he was like 19 playing in like Belgium. He came and he's like in Stamford Bridge going like, yeah, I'm going to play here one day. I'm going to love it. And they did it like this whole emotional story as if like this is the moment he's been waiting for and he's finally got to Chelsea. He's going to perform. And then 2 months later, he's like, get me out of here.
Nah, I'm done. I made a mistake.
That's unbelievable. But I think we're going to wind down the rest of the show here, everybody, with I think just one or two more. I think we just have one or two more left with Joe Rodon here, everybody. And somebody that I do probably see staying in the Premier League. I'll be honest, I didn't also another player here I'd never really rated too highly. I just don't see him ever being able to make it, and even a mid-table back line. I feel like
Really?
he can. Yeah, I just don't think he's technically good enough to be able to play for a manager that wants to do more with the ball than, you know, maybe what he's capable of. Because nowadays, like teams like Grant, like when they say he was going to Brighton, I just never saw that happening, because the way that Graham Potter likes to use possession, Joe Rodon for me is just never one of those players that could really help in that sort of possession kind of system. So he needs to play for a team that pretty much what he's expected to do is just get stuck in, and then that's about it, you know. And
I was just
I feel
about to
like
say, Jack. He's
lower level
basically
teams then are the ones that are available to him. That's all you have to
in
do
the
is
most
just get stuck
respectful
in.
way possible. He's a relegation centre back. I think any relegation club should look at Joe Rodon, because you know he would give his all to keep a club in the Premier League. I think, and I think he does love to defend. So I do agree with you. It's not a knock on his ability. I actually am a bit opposite to you. I actually sort of thought very, very highly of Joe Rodon when I saw the way he performed at Swansea. And was he captain at Swansea, or am I mistaken?
I
I
think he
feel
might
like
have
he
been.
was.
He could have
I
been.
feel
He
like he
was
was
their
captain.
defender of the year or
It was
something
Swansea,
like that.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely had an influence on that Swansea team, but I don't know if, like you said, I don't know if I maybe just got a little bit overexcited. And honestly, if he was to go to any of those three clubs that have just come up from the Prem, they all want to sort of play a level of football, but I think it's sort of, you need a defender like him who wants to just get stuck in, like you said, and defend if you're
Do you know
gonna
where
stay in that Premier League.
the moment I started not rating him, or at least for like our level of club, you know, the moment I didn't rate him as like a top four, even mid-table center back, there have been times when I've seen Joe Rodon kind of just clear the ball in kind of like desperation when he's had ages on the ball. Like all he had to do is just turn, or all he had to do is just look the other direction that, you know, he has an open teammate. But he's just one of those guys that just seems like you just said, you know, all he's going to do is just defend like he's playing for a relegation side when he's really, you know, defending for a top four team. And that's where I got a bit frustrated with him, is that I saw him give the ball away like into the stands, you know, in moments when all he had to do is just have a bit of composure, just a bit of, you know, keep your head about you. And I'll be honest, he seems to do certain kind of actions, like especially when he plays for a club like Spurs. Lots of moments when I remember him like, throwing his hands in the air at like someone else, for making like kind of a defensive mistake. And I'm just kind of like, listen, buddy, like you only play like, so many minutes as well. I just don't really like that sort of, player if you ask me. So yeah, Joe Rodon, I think I wish him the best, but I just didn't, just worry signs when he came into this club. Like I just don't know what we were doing. He never looked like a top 4 center back that was ever going to be capable of playing in a top 4 team, even as a backup, capable of playing in a top 4 team. I think Sanchez is still light years better than him at the end of the day. As much as I was being harsh on Sanchez, I think Sanchez is light years still ahead of Rodon.
I actually think, despite what you were saying, Jack, I think he actually could play for a relatively mid-table club, because let's even take Newcastle for example. Is Joe Rodon better than Kieran Clark?
Yeah, but they're going to be
Federico
looking much higher. They're looking
Fernandez?
at Sven Botmans now, so they're looking at the Sven Botmans.
I know, but what I'm saying is they're around mid-table. I'm not saying he's going to go to Newcastle. But I'm saying they're around mid-table. That's the kind of quality of centre backs you're
Could
getting.
see him go like Crystal
mid-table
Palace.
clubs.
Crystal Palace is a club that you could see him at, or something like that.
Yeah, I think honestly, alone with an option to buy, because I think if we sell him now, it's going to be cheap because he just hasn't played. Whereas with a loan, maybe you can just bump that price tag of what you're looking for up a little bit, and with a good season, I think he'll do well. I do agree with you. There has been some times where he's on the ball and he hasn't showcased like just the calmness, to play the ball under pressure. But I think that's also partially due to him just not getting any minutes. So you don't get any minutes, and then you're just thrown in there like once every 20 games and just told, like, all right, cool, go do a job against Chelsea, which he played against before. It's like you throw in a guy who's playing one game once every 20 games against Chelsea. It's a bit weird. Just instantly click and just do it when you're not an elite kind of player or a top half player. I think he could slot into one of those lower half mid-table teams, but yeah.
I think it's
interesting. I think honestly a loan and buy. I think right now, do we even get 13 million for him? I don't think so.
Absolutely not.
If we sell him, I don't think we get 13 million. If you put loan to buy 13 million, I think then you're talking a different situation, because you get a club like Fulham, Forest, or Bournemouth that have come up. He has a good season with them. They stay up. They're probably going to exercise that option to buy.
I think
you got a little bit more money out of it.
Yeah, I was speaking to. It's funny you say that about Forest. I was speaking to a few friends, because obviously I'm from Nottingham, and a lot of them were asking me sort of, "What's your thoughts on Joe Rodon? Is he good enough for the Premier League?" And my answer to them was, he is good enough for the Premier League, but I just feel like it's only if you're a team that's defending. Like you said, I just feel like he wants to defend, and as much as a defender, you should credit a defender for doing that. It's just, it doesn't seem like he's going to be of that level for Spurs. I think when we're looking at a defender who wants to defend, we're looking at the quality of Romero, because Romero is the same person. He wants to defend. He wants to be on the front foot. He's all action. But his technical ability and his just ability in general, the reading of the game, is 10 times the amount that Joe Rodon's is. So he can sort of afford to do that. I think selling Joe Rodon, like you said, Kieran, to a club for free, if it's a loan fee, obviously, with an option to buy, entices them to maybe just put that false sort of thought in their head that Joe Rodon was the reason that we stayed in the Premier League. Therefore, it's a great deal to get a Premier League proven centre back for £15 million.
Yeah.
Whereas if you say we want £15 million for a guy who played I don't even know if he played more than 400 minutes this season or 500 minutes. I don't even know if he played more than 300 minutes this season. You're never ever going to get him. So yeah, I think it's got to be a loan. It's just where he's going to be loaned to.
Yeah, I honestly have a feeling he'll be one of those players where we'll sell him. He'll go out. He'll maybe have a rocky start, but then in a season or two, we'll probably be going, "Oh, he would have been a good backup choice."
Is it going to be another Foyth? Is it going to be another Juan Foyth?
I feel like he probably will be. Oh, I just shook everything. I feel like he probably might be another Foyth, but I think you kind of got to look at where we want to be. And you got to ask yourself, okay, are you taking, a player that currently isn't the quality of player that we want, who isn't being trusted enough? Do Do you want that, or would you rather we sell him, move on, get someone else who is trusted, is going to get minutes, and
Yeah,
who's going to step
Nuno
up on
couldn't
the
even
form?
trust this guy by
Yeah.
the looks of it, and I think that's where your worry signs are. That's where probably even my whole maybe harshness kind of goes towards Joe Rodan. It's just like no manager has really rated him since he's been here, which kind of just gives me everything
you do
that I
feel
need
bad
to
at the
know.
start, don't you, Jack?
You
You do
feel
feel
bad
that
about, but that
you
just
feel
gives
bad at
you
the
where
start,
his
and then you
level is. It just
realize,
tells you
yeah,
clearly.
you
It just
realize,
tells you clearly what his level is. Like if
yeah,
no
it's like, oh,
manager that has come
are you
into
not being
Spurs thinks,
started?
well,
Sorry, yeah,
because
carry on,
it's
carry on.
like Nuno. No, I think you're getting to what I'm about to say. It's like
Yeah.
Nuno when he's desperate for wins, like Nuno or Jose, desperate for wins. Maybe except Jose at one stage, just because Jose was just trying to figure out what worked. But they really have never looked to Joe Rodon, even in their most desperate moments, for like a change in like something. They're like, I guess I'll just go with Sanchez again. Like that's what like they seem to say, or they'll like,
It's all
you know,
telling.
maybe moon boats one more time. You know, we'll see.
It's
If it's
also
different.
telling. These are players that we wouldn't expect to be picked over a brand new
Yeah.
signing as well. Like these are
Which just
players who've
tells
been
you
here for
everything
4
you need
years
to
as
know
well. So
about
it
how
is very
other
telling.
Premier
Yeah.
League managers rate him. Other Premier League managers don't see him even making it into this back line. That makes me think that maybe mid-table is actually probably could be accurate. I feel like you're on, but the point I was trying to make about mid-table is like I feel like a lot of mid-table teams they're trying to aspire
Trajectories,
to
isn't
shoot
it?
higher.
Yeah.
They're trying to aspire to shoot higher, so you don't have Joe Rodon around to shoot higher. That's why Crystal Palace have Mark Gahey as well as Anderson, because those guys are capable of like progressing you, I think, up the table and getting better as center backs. And the same thing goes for Newcastle with what they're looking for. Whereas Wolves too, like I don't think Wolves are going to buy Joe Rodon, to replace, even Wilfred Bawley or Roman Saiz. Like they're
Roman
going to look.
Saiz is going. Yeah, he's gone on a free.
Yes,
So.
it's just for me like a mid-table team, unless they're like steadfast on staying mid-table, like maybe then they'll get Joe Rodon. But if they're trying to get any
Southampton?
better than mid-table, Southampton
I think-
actually, to be fair, Southampton's a good shout.
That's a perfect club for him, bro.
Jan Bednarek
Yeah.
replacement, maybe. Yeah.
But I think even as when I say mid-table, like, obviously he's not really going to want to go to a club where he's not getting guaranteed starting minutes. But even if it's a club where you kind of go, you are definitely the third choice, potentially pushing into that first team. You're going to get a lot more chance than you are at Tottenham. I think it's still a good move for him.
That's good.
Like
I
I
even
said,
think Everton, teams like Everton who are back on the come up again, who didn't
Yeah.
have a great season. That's a perfect example of you saying like you may not
True.
be in the top two,
I'd rather
but
have him
you'll
than Michael
guaranteed
Keane.
get minutes. Yeah, exactly. That's a great
So,
point. Yeah.
and Michael Keane's like their first choice centre back. So, I mean, and they're apparently interested in Winks. Let's just get all of our deadwood to Everton.
Lampard wants it all. He wants all
Yeah.
the Spurs rejects, except this time they're not going to be Juve rejects. Frank Lampard, it's not going to work out the
And
same
just
way.
actually to comment on
yeah.
that, when I say that he would be like Foyth, I'm not saying that I want Foyth at Tottenham or I would take Foyth at Tottenham. I'm purely saying he's one of those players where he goes away, has a good season. We're going, fuck's sake, we could have got. Oh shit, sorry, I shouldn't swear. We could have got a lot more money for him than we have. It's one of those
I feel like
go,
I still feel like that to this day, man. I actually do want Foyth back at the club, Kieran. I don't know why we.
I was going to say I would take Juan Foyth sooner. I would take him back.
Hindsight's
over,
the thing. I mean,
over
if
Joe
we knew that
Rodon.
Conte was coming, I think Foyth would be a monster under Conte.
I'd rather Spence than Foyth. That's probably a bold claim, but
I would play him
no,
right
but I
centre
think
back.
Foyth is a centre back. Yeah, right-sided centre back. Exactly.
Over
He'd be like the Ben Davies on the right side.
Over Sanchez, or is he just going to be another Joe Rodon that sits there and we're going, oh, well, he's never playing?
Bold claim. I'd rather have Juan Foyth than Sanchez. That's a bold claim.
I think so. That's not even the debate. He's not even a Spurs player anymore, man. He's not even a Spurs player anymore.
That's how much I rate him that much more than Joe Rodon. I think Juan Foyth and Joe Rodon, not even a conversation. Emerson, I think this one I can even do myself. And if you guys want to get in, a chime, you're welcome to. But it seems like Atletico is the destination for the guy, supposedly around 22 million euros, 20 million euros. Spurs are kind of in a healthy position when it comes to Emerson because he had a good season with us at the end of the day. And there are clubs who do like him, and there are clubs who want defensive fullbacks. And there are maybe teams like Simeone's who would see him as being a very useful player. He didn't really, I think, ruin his reputation over at Spurs. And in fact, like with kind of all the stuff that's been coming out with like him, like seeing neuroscientists and like, therapists and whatnot, to adapt to England, kind of just shows that, like I kind of always thought, never been a bad influence in the dressing room, never been kind of, a distraction from the morale, always has been a good guy, always has been a positive influence, I think, in the dressing room. And so I see him not being hard at all to shift on. I feel like somebody is going to make a bid for Emerson. It's just more the price tag is maybe interesting, maybe as to what Spurs would accept. But maybe like Darius said before, just a glorified loan, in a way.
Honestly, I am happily able to admit I was one of those people that was ready to hound out Emerson. I'm very much a person when it comes to liking a player. I am so hard headed on technical ability. I do think that
I
if a
did the
player
same
shows
thing
a
with
lack
Joe
of
Rodon,
technical
to be fair.
ability,
Yeah.
it's so irritating to me. It's like, how can you be a professional footballer and not be able to kick a ball cleanly? And it just angers me. But the thing is, you're so right about Emerson. He is such a hard worker. He just wanted to get better. And like, I can't hate on a player who just wants to get better and who doesn't really cause any issues. And I think you would have been.
There's no
I genuinely
bad
think
PR like around the guys, but maybe
no. I genuinely think he would have been actually wrong with the fact that he kept his stock. I think if it wasn't for the performances towards the end of the season, I do think it probably would have been a very, very tough challenge to sell him on. But he put in some really, really good performances, and it just made me think like this kid has tried all. And if what you said is true again about the neuroscientists and the therapists and stuff, I admire that sort of stuff. You just a person, a young player, just wanting to try his absolute best to improve. That's all you can really ask for. And if his technical ability is lacking, then it's not really his fault. He again, I always stress this. He was bought under the regime of Nuno. He was bought as a right back. We were going to play 4-3-3 with him playing as a defensive right back. For him to sort of try and adapt to a formation in a system where the fullback or right back is doing almost a complete opposite to what Nuno is expecting from him, and to do it maybe not well, but to still try and attempt it, and have an impression at the end of the season where it's most important. Again, I can only, if he does leave, and I do think he should leave. That is, let me do put that out there. I do think he should be moved on this season. I can't like be angry, or I can't sort of say he wasn't good, he was a flop, because I will just remember the fact that he did want to at least try for the club, work hard, bring the morale, and again, he will fit a system that is needed for his qualities. I think Atletico Madrid, like you said, a guy who can potentially get forward, but his main role is to be that defensive solid fullback. I think it would be quite good for him. So 20 million, I mean, we bought him for 22, didn't we? So it isn't that much of a loss. And if you can go and get somebody who is a proper right wing back, whatever the price is, be that a Ridley Barku, be that a Molina, be that a Hakimi, whatever the price range is, they will probably do a better job. So it will automatically look like an upgrade on Emerson.
I really like that kind of breakdown there. And Kieran, anything that maybe we've missed on the Emerson kind of case? I think he is headed to Atletico by the looks of it. It seems like that the interest has been there since like January, I think, as well.
Yeah, just to even just add on what you were saying further, I think the thing with Emerson is he's a player who wants to be good. I mean, recent interview, he seemed to kind of be thinking that he was staying at the club. He was saying now he's going to have his best season. He's finally feels like he's adapted. He's settled in. He's going to have his best season ever. And I do feel like defensively, there are games where he's been very, very good. The Liverpool one obviously springs to mind. But in this Conte system, you need to be able to be good going forward and be able to cross the ball. And I think that's where, if he could literally just cross, doesn't necessarily need to be that great at skills or have that much pace. If he could just be as good as he is defensively and literally just cross when he had that opportunity when he was forward, I'd be sitting there probably going, let's keep him. But the problem is there is so many times where the ball goes out to him and the commentator goes, and Emerson, and you're sitting there and it's like, okay, good attack, please. And if you're sitting there going, please, when a player has the ball, before they've done anything, you already know that you're thinking negatively about their ability, or you've experienced so many misplaced passes or crosses that's the first thing that comes to mind is they're going to fuck it up.
Good
rather
point.
Than, oh, it's not excitement, it's, oh, please don't mess this up. I feel really harsh because I actually think that he has a positive impact in the dressing room. He seems to be someone who's liked. He seems to want to do really well and a player that wants to push himself. But at the end of the day, we have to sit and ask ourselves, where do we want to be, and do we just want to be a club that just holds on to players and goes, let's just give him a chance, especially
more
when you've got
chance, yeah.
Conte. Conte
Yeah.
generally doesn't stay here too long, and Conte
He's
at
not.
the moment, it seems
Yeah.
like he's a manager who's he's actually
Kind of
kind of
have one
squeezing a
chance
bit
to
more.
impress. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's squeezing a bit more out the ball, Conte, in terms of like going early and doing business early in the transfer window, or at least that's what it looks like so far. And I think that's why it's now that you've kind of got to be ruthless and go, this is an opportunity. We need to be ruthless in this moment. We can't sit on players too long. And then when he goes and the board isn't as reluctant to go early and back the manager as much, then we're sitting there going, oh, we should have done this. We just got to be ruthless. It's like Harry Winks. Honestly, I actually like Harry Winks, in not necessarily like just his ability, but I mean just him as a person. He seems like a nice guy, but obviously he's come through the academy as well. But at the same time, he's not good enough for where we want to be and where the quality of player that we need right now. So unfortunately, he's another player who, despite coming through the academy,
let's move on to the last one then, Kieran. And how about you start us off first? Harry Winks. Last one here, everybody. So please get your thoughts, get your comments in still, please. I've been trying to put up the comments as much as I can while we're having this conversation. I've been putting in the link to the channels as well. Kieran's Let's Talk Spurs, as well as Darius's Paxton Road. Everybody, pretty sure you guys have been able to hit that link, but please hit that link. Show the support they deserve. Hit that like button while you're in here. But last one, everybody, Harry Winks. I've had the price tag anywhere between Spurs pay someone 10 million to get rid of him to him being around 10 million. I mean, I don't know. Kieran, I mean, how do you see this Harry Winks deal working? How do we get rid of him?
I actually think that we will get money for him. I don't think it's going to be a massive amount just purely because of the amount of games that he played. But, I think he's actually a player that gets a lot more stick than he gets a little bit more stick than I think he actually deserves. Do I think that he has been very poor, and there has been some situations where you look and you go like, what are you doing? There definitely has been those moments, but I think because there's a sheer amount of people that are going in on him, I think it then becomes,
if I were to come from where those people sort of come from, since I know them quite well, it's in the Winks Brigade, in the anti-Winks Brigade. I think where it comes from, Kieran, is some of Spurs' most embarrassing and like worst performances, like some of the worst results we have actually received in the last 6-7 years. The most common denominator in all of it is Harry Winks started in all of those games. Some of the worst, everything from Dinamo Zagreb to losing to Genk, to losing to, I think it was even a Middlesbrough actually back then as well. Some of these atrocious results. I know Winks isn't always the reason we lost, but he has always been the common denominator in it all. And I think that's where, kind of.
I agree with what you've just said.
Mm.
I agree what you've just said, that he is a common denominator in terms of he plays in all those games. But what I'm saying when I say that some people go on him too much is when people go like, he is the only reason we lost. He's the sole reason we lost when there's 11 players on the pitch. Dynamo Zagreb, we had a 2-goal lead and then we lost 3-0. And some people going, it is literally just because of Winks. Now, I'm saying those people have maybe gone a bit too hard on him in the sense of we're sitting there going, oh, we need to pay someone to get rid of him because he's that bad. But I'm saying I don't think he's actually that bad. He's not the level we want at all. I don't think he's as bad as some people make him out to be, is more my point. And I think that we will be able to get a small amount of money for him. I don't think it'll be much at all, but I think that
Everton, I think 10 million is actually what I see us getting. I see us getting 10 million for him.
Do you know what? I think if we get 10 million, we're lucky. I think we might even accept less than that, like 8 million, just to kind of go, look, you're not going to play. We've now got Basuma in the door. It's better for you to go for your career and get game minutes, and we kind of need to get some players off the wage books that aren't playing. And I think that Everton is probably actually, around the level that I think is suitable for him, and probably a good team that he's going to go in and get minutes for.
Darius, where have you come from, in this kind of, Winks standpoint? Because of course, maybe I come from the, the very harsh to Winks, kind of camp. And I think Kieran has, probably shown him a bit respect that he probably deserves. I mean, where do you kind of stand in this kind of situation?
Anyhow, anyway, mate. Don't care the price. Don't care the fee.
Do you think it's a
I
bit
actually,
unjustified? Some of the Harry Winks sort of kind of,
I was gonna say, I actually do. You know what, Kieran? I actually wanted to think of so many ways I could disagree with you and say no, he's actually that bad. But I actually do agree with you. I actually do think there are many times where people will, when you know you don't like a player, you will watch their performance and pinpoint their mistakes because you're individually watching them, and it's sort of you detract all of the other players' performances because you're so focused on that player. I think that's my only assumption is what happens to people when they see Winks because they want Winks to do badly and they want him to be the reason why we've lost. They're going to pinpoint his performance. I do think it's been a lot of players in certain games that are responsible. However, there have been games where I've seen Winks come on off the bench and genuinely make us look worse, and it almost seems like he just I don't know what it is. He just doesn't. It's not like he doesn't care, but it's just like his ability
I
is
think there
just
are levels
is.
to this game. I think that's
Yeah,
what
he just
he's
will never
shown.
be able to have that impact, and
It's
it will
same thing
always
like I
annoy
said with Joe
people because
Rodon.
he's not that level. Yeah, so it's like I know we hold. I think people do hold a bit of sentiment for Winks because of him being an academy boy and him really, really sort of having that promise at the start. But if you can get, and I actually am quite surprised that you guys would take such a low fee for him. I thought you lot would want more, just being
I think
English
I'm being
and
very,
26
I'm
years of
actually
age.
hiding what I truly think for that 10 million. I would think his valuation. Here's if I'm not going to be truly honest, since I guess it is my channel, I might as well be truly honest. I'm actually worried for Harry Winks because his whole career has been sheltered by playing for his boyhood club and no one
Yeah,
has ever gone in after him before. So the next club that he does go to, he's not going to be carrying, the Harry
the
Winks
sentiment.
lovers, the Harry Winks sentiment, the Harry Winks kind of protection that he does have at this club. He will be going in with a clean slate. But what comes with a clean slate often is then no pedigree, no kind of like, built reputation, no credit in the bank. So
If
he's
he
going to have
goes, if
no
he
credit in the
goes,
bank with whatever club he goes to. If what
mm,
people do truly rate this guy, if people truly rate this guy, he will go into that team. He will do fine. For the people that don't rate this guy, and he does end up being like a Dele Alli or whatever and continue to look worse and worse and worse, you then have to worry for the player because that
yeah,
means his level is only going to further skyrocket in the wrong direction. And
yeah,
so, if you ask me, I think his next club is going to be a Premier League club. But if he fails at that Premier League club, like it looks like maybe Delhi might be, the next step after that is going to be a lot darker, like and a lot
this is
worse.
Do you
And
know?
that's what
it's
I'm
a
I
worried
great
about.
point to make.
Players that have stuck around this club for so long, once they step into another team where they do have to compete, with other players, they might find out their level is actually a lot worse than what people really thought.
I actually think that what you're saying is true, but it's kind of thing of if we're playing at this level and Harry Winks is playing here, if he goes to a team that is this level and he's putting in those sort of performances, they'll probably be like, okay, you've let your man go past you and you've just jogged on. They're going to be annoyed, but a lot
Hmm.
of players at that level do that, and that's why they're at that level. You look at those Everton players towards the end of the season, you kind of go, if you just perform like you were at the end of the season, you wouldn't be in the situation you were at the end of the season if you played like that throughout. It's because of that players have those that's the point. Like I mean, this season against Liverpool, early Conte days when he's playing midfield with Dele Alli, and we're going, Jesus Christ, Winks had a really good game. Is he going to be revitalized under Conte? And there's like, no, he isn't. And that's Winks' problem. He just doesn't have any consistency. He's either really good or he's just not good at all. But you bring the level down where the expectations aren't as much as a team that's pushing for Champions League. Will some people let him off with that? That's the only thing I think that, like you said, a clean slate though, he could go to a club like Everton
Goes
and the
both
fans
ways.
already don't like him because of, how he's perceived by Tottenham fans. And then they already have
Well,
negative thoughts about him. It could be
that's
really
not
bad.
really his problem though, to be fair, because like I said, when he goes to a new team, a clean slate can be good for him because he carries with him a new opportunity and a new opportunity to be able to impress other fans and gain new fans. But like I said, it can go the other direction where he doesn't impress the other fans and then he has, nobody at that new team that he has that likes him. We're here over at Spurs, it's this kind of two camps. It's people that desperately need Winks to go, people that probably are maybe slightly mean to Winks, but he's been here that long. And like I said, I think we are really forgetting the amount of performances that he has taken part in. I think Dave and I did a slideshow of it. It was about 8 slides long of those performances. So while we can find a middle ground here, what I think the middle ground needs to be said is that when he gets to that new club, if it does go poorly for him, I do not see it like him resurrecting his career all of a sudden. I see him like plummeting like quickly after that, because that means the new manager won't like him, the new fans don't like him. He moves on to a club after that. Does he then collect himself from there? Who knows? It's one of those situations where also players that have been around at Spurs so long, like, do you really see Winks like knowing like the hard grit mentality of like a lower level Premier League club? Does he have the hard grit mentality of a championship player? I mean, these are all things that I can't say he doesn't. I can't say that he does. And it's one of those sort of situations where that's where I'm also worried about him. He's been at Spurs so long that I do wonder, like, making that transition to a whole different culture and a whole different team, will he be able to do that? And I don't know.
It's who he chooses, isn't it, Jack? I think even before you say like if he actually performs at the club, I think like you said, Kieran, you mentioned about the levels. If he chooses the right club, I think he'll be okay, because he can't. Harry Winks needs to know that Harry Winks is of that level. He can't think that he deserves to be playing for a Champions League club, or he deserves to be playing for even a top 10 club, in my opinion. I think Harry Winks should lower his expectations and join a club where he is the best player. Because I'm not trying to say, again, it's an example that I'm giving. I'm not trying to say James Ward-Prowse is not a good midfielder, even a great midfielder to some people, but he looks a lot better in that Southampton team. I think if you put James Ward-Prowse in a better team, I don't think he actually looks that much better, because everybody else around him is so much better anyway. So it's similar for me with Harry Winks. He's not going to be the best player surrounded by better players, but if you surround him with players, like you say, who haven't got the passing ability like him, if you see Harry Winks spraying passes, putting through balls in, it will deceive a lot of fans of new clubs, because you'll just see Harry Winks with that technical ability, that ability to float a ball over the top, to put a ball through there, and you think that's what you wanted. So, and we don't necessarily need that from Winks, which is why we get annoyed. We want a Winks who can go forward and backwards. So again, find the role, find the team, and I genuinely think he could probably maybe not do well, but I definitely think he could not be hated by the next club he's at. So he just needs to find his level. He just needs to find his level.
And to be fair, I think we've kept this, just quickly, just for the comment's sake, we've kept this entirely about his footballing ability. I haven't dug at all into anything about, the poor lad. I've kept it entirely about who he is as a footballer, who he is as the profession that he is, which is a footballer. Just to make that clear, I just don't rate him as a footballer. There are people that are allowed to rate him as a footballer. And I actually think the whole argument I think I'm trying to make here is his next club is going to decide for the people who didn't rate him and the people who did rate him, because the people who did rate him can laugh at people's face saying, listen, this is what you have to apologize to Winks. You can't say that, you can't say he's a League One footballer, etc. Look at what he's doing at Nottingham Forest, let's say, his next club or whatever it is. Like, look at what he's doing there. But let's say he does go to a Nottingham Forest or an Everton, doesn't play a single minute, things are rumored he's out the door because the manager doesn't rate him. Then the people who never rated Winks are going to be like, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. So I think it's going to be an interesting, kind of, everything will be settled, situation when it comes to the Winks debate. I think it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Just to kind of go back on, so what I was saying as well was that about the level as well, is that it is a clean slate in terms of you've not got a whole fan base going, well, you made this mistake and this mistake because you've not made any appearances. But I've already seen when he was linked to Southampton and Everton earlier in the window, their fans were going, why? Like, no, please don't go near him. And I think because they're carrying the representation of what they see Tottenham fans tweeting, because it's not like back in the day where you just see in the newspapers or you see on Sky Sports and you kind of go like, oh, well, I don't actually know what, the perception of this person is. And then you just see them. It's now everyone's opinions are so accessible, and where so many Tottenham fans go, like what I was saying, just a little bit excessively sometimes in on him. He, to other fans of other clubs, will have a reputation that's negative when he originally joins, and then if he steps down level, there's potential where they go, oh, actually, this guy's not as bad as what I thought he was going to be. And that's why I'm saying he might do well at another club like Everton that have just battled relegation. Not necessarily saying that his ability is the best and, he's going to get them out of a relegation battle. But I think that I think he'll probably be a little bit more loved maybe if he puts in a good few first performances. I think that will put him well. But yeah, look, like I said, he doesn't have the ability, like consistency of ability to be where we want to be and the player that we want to be. But I think he can do a job at another club. No way is that club going to be competing for Europe, I don't think, by any means. I think it's going to be a lower Premier League team. And like Darius said, he probably should lower his expectations. But yeah, I think when I say some people have gone excessive on him, I think I'm just talking about like everything combined, not necessarily individuals, people just labeling things and saying the whole combined thing makes him seem like he's worse than he actually is when we're talking about fees.
I agree, actually. There's kind of a bit of damage reputation even happening probably to Harry Winks' name, maybe via Twitter, and I do probably feel bad for the lad in that regard. That is definitely true. But everybody, we can all breathe. We're done talking about Harry Winks. Everybody can breathe in the chat. We're going to find a good home for him. We found lots of homes for these players, honestly. So I'm actually quite proud of ourselves. We're trying to give them the best. Maybe just to quickly summarize, Everton, I think probably is the most likely destination for Winks. I could see for Tanguy, who knows? Someone said Sergey swap deal. That would be ridiculous. But I don't know, Roma. I could see Roma happening or PSG, like Kieran was saying, but it is going to be for a free. Lo Celso, it's going to be some La Liga club. Someone did say Atletico, which makes a lot of sense. In the case of Joe Rodon, I feel like it is Nottingham Forest. That is the club that seems most interested in him. Emerson, also in Atletico Madrid, looks like destination there. And then Sanchez, looks like I think we're thinking he's staying. Reguilon, this one was tough. I don't even know if we found a good answer for this one. Sevilla, Juventus, perhaps, but Juventus didn't make a lot of sense because of the Filip Kostic rumors. So this one, I don't know if we might have left that one maybe unanswered. Tanganga, I think we know he's staying or he's probably going out on loan somewhere. And then everybody knows Bergwijn off to Ajax for around 25 million euros is, by the looks of it. But maybe last one here, lads, while I'm kind of plugging the channels and whatnot. Reguilon, did we decide like a club for him? Anybody want to shout one out?
You know what?
I'm going to go pay the money.
I'm going to go left field. I'm going to go crazy left field and say Atalanta. Just crazy left field. No absolute reason why. Just they'll probably sell a left back or a right back as they do always. And they can just go and get him in. And he'll probably look good. Because they like to revive. I think they're good. I think Atalanta is a good. People don't really talk about Atalanta like that. But I think that's a sort of club to go to if you want to revive your career. Somewhere where you constantly are going to be attacking. And even if you don't play well, you're going to look good in a team like that. So it will never happen. I think it's probably the most far-fetched thing I've ever said in my life, but I'd actually like to see him go there. If not, go back to Spain and see what you can do.
Love it. And Darius, tell me a bit about Paxton Road. Any kind of series going on this summer, stuff that's planned for the new season? Just tell me.
The only thing I'm going to plug is the amazing show that we did yesterday with the likes of Sid and Sean, who have both been in the comment section in this video as well. So yeah, if you do want to go and watch a video on, we basically discussed what our priority positions to fill in the market was this summer was. So I think we went through the squad and we sort of trimmed the squad, and then we sort of discussed what our priority positions to buy in the summer is. So it was great to do that show, and honestly, it was a really good show. So everybody, if you want to check that out, that was yesterday on Paxton Road. Jack was amazing, Sid was amazing, and Sean was amazing as well. So yeah, that's my plug, and hopefully me, you and Kieran could do a show on the channel soon as well, talking about whatever it is Tottenham are going to be talking about in the future, because it feels like it genuinely does change every single day at the moment.
There you are, everybody. Check out the stream Darius and I did yesterday with Sid as well as Sean, and then also I think plenty more things planned. You have Ask Sid, I'm assuming coming up. Talking Points will make its return. Jody is going to be making their turn for the Judge Jody and whatnot. So we're looking forward to Paxton Road. All the Matty series coming back. Kieran's channel, Let's Talk Spurs is what it's called. Kieran, anything planned over there, my man?
Yeah, a lot of things planned at the moment. Just there's only a few transfer recaps that I'll be doing every kind of few days, just recapping in a few minutes all the news. I know a lot of people don't have, a lot of time to watch 20-minute videos every single day on transfer news. So every few days, just recap everything that's gone on from the top sources, essentially, just stuff that you need to know that's happening. And then obviously there will be a lot more to come soon. I don't want to say too much without it being 100%, but there'll be a lot more content in a little bit more similar to this type of video to be coming out. And yeah, if people are interested in that or they want to hear me more and potentially you guys more when I get you guys on there, like Jack said last time he was supposed to be on it, but we'll make sure he's on the channel at some point in the future.
Make sure we'll get his apology. We'll get his
and Darius as well. So yeah, if you do want to hear more of me, go over to Let's Talk Spurs and subscribe, and there'll be plenty more content coming in the future.
Everybody, hit that link. Show Kieran the support he deserves, especially while he's trying to get back into it. He's balancing a very difficult, I would say, but honestly, newly kind of promoted. He's got a job that on the side, as well, that he's basically working all day. Then he finds the time to still put up YouTube videos as well as come on this channel as well. And it's a similar case, I know, for Darius, who's a very busy guy. So everybody show the support that they deserve over in their channels, running all that stuff on the side as well, on top of their very busy lives. So everybody, they deserve the support. John Stokes, really do appreciate that, man. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for showing me the support, brother. Especially, just I agree. Thanks for, keeping it civil in there, John. I do appreciate it, my man. And then also the Piero Hincapié vid getting released. I was going to release it, but it just looks like that was just like a one-day sort of rumor, Cola. I made an incredible thumbnail for it, my man. So maybe I'll just put it up in the community section or something like that. But I don't really know if I'm going to do the video just because I think I probably will at some stage, when I'm kind of running out of, players maybe to suggest to Spurs. But, right now, I think we're just focusing on players that Spurs really are sort of connected to in the off season. For the transfer market, we like to do videos with players that Spurs should take a look at. But right now, it's kind of, we're talking about the players that Spurs are taking a look at.
I need to do my research on him. Not heard of him at all.
He's kind of he's kind of like Ben Davies. He's kind of like Ben Davies, like small, left-sided center back and plays a fullback.
Is he good? Is he? Do you rate? Is he actually?
This is the thing, because obviously Jack watches Hertha, and obviously my team that I actually watch in the Bundesliga is Leverkusen. And cool. This guy, to be honest, he kind of came in and out in terms of like patches. Wasn't like 2 or 3 games, just like big patches, not there for a little bit, then big patches where he played games. This guy's promising, but I just don't see this happening. Like, he only came there last summer, and I think it was like 7 million. I think it was like 7 million or something that Leverkusen bought him for. But even if we paid, I think we'd have to pay honestly like 40, 45 million, because Leverkusen really, they're just a team that they bring in players, they develop them to a point where they're developing like a lot of interest, and then they sell them. But just got Champions League football this season as well, which can make it hard. But he is kind of somewhat small as a centre back, but he's aggressive. He's good aerially. He will drive forward as well with the ball, and pretty much do what Ben Davies has been doing for us this season. But would probably do it a bit better and with a bit more pace. And just bring that bit more aerial ability. But yeah, I just don't see that one happening at all. Just purely because he only came there last season. Leverkusen now have Champions League, and the fee that it would actually take to force them to sell, I think, is probably going to be more than we're willing to pay right now, with only 1 season and a top 5 league under his belt. And it wasn't, obviously got Jonathan Tah and Tapsoba as well, who are realistically ahead of him. So, it's not like he's been in the first team the whole season. It's just kind of been patches, but he's played well in those patches.
Yeah, absolutely. There you are, everybody. Just got a bit of a breakdown, probably a better one than I was probably going to give on my own channel about Piero Hincapié and Kieran. There you go, everybody. More reason to check out Let's Talk Spurs, especially if those rumors maybe were to get a bit more heat. But the reason it hasn't been released, like I said, everybody, just because it just looks like it kind of is dead on the water. But everybody, do really appreciate you all tuning in. Hit that like button on your way out. Really appreciate all the support, everybody. Going to be putting some more videos out, trying to make it as close to daily as I can, but, just trying my best while we're having this very, very busy summer on both the Irish Hotspur as well as Flat Cap. Do appreciate all the support, everybody. And as always, Darius, Kieran, and I, we will be seeing you.